Part 55. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 542. She raised her head tremblingly and looked at the person in the mirror. The moment his eyes met the mirror, Li Huiyu covered his eyes in pain. No, no. This is not me. Although she only had one glance, she could see clearly. Gray hair, wrinkled cheeks, cloudy eyes. Granny revealed. Ugly. Jinli slowly made up the knife behind him. No, this is you. Li Huiyu turned around suddenly, and she stared at Jinli. It's you. What did you do to me? You stole my beauty, didn't you? Your beautiful face is the one you stole from others. Wrong. She seems to have gone crazy. Jinli was very upset. Because of her words. She snorted heavily. You don't want to be a thief yourself, thinking that other people are also thieves? Stealing other people's beauty? Do I need it? In this world, is there anyone more beautiful than a little fairy? It doesn't exist. Li Huiyu looked at her with resentment. You vicious woman, what did I do wrong and you want to treat me like this? You made me like this, and I will destroy you too. As soon as she finished speaking, dozens of slave spirits appeared around her. Li Huiyu smiled loudly. Go scratch this woman's face and make her ugly. No. Go and snatch her youth and beauty from me. Yes. She looked at Jinli. Under the messy hair, there was a pair of bloodshot eyes. Yes. As long as I steal yours, I can look good and young again. Ha 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 ha. It's crazy. Jinli shook his head. She just snapped her fingers. Those servant spirits in mid-air looked at each other in a daze. They have no self-consciousness, but they can feel that the connection between themselves and their masters has been cut off. That is to say, from now on, they no longer need to be controlled by others, and they will regain their freedom. The servants flew over to Jinli, made a few laps around her to express their gratitude, and flew out of the window together. These poor imprisoned souls, after recovering themselves, will soon overflow, dissipate between the heaven and the earth, and get real liberation. Li Huiyu stared blankly at all this. These omnipotent slave spirits that she raised were just so easily let go by Jinli? She looked at Jinli in horror and started to back up. You, who the hell are you? Jinli snorted softly. What is my identity, do you deserve to know? She sat by the bed and waved lightly at Li Huiyu. Li Huiyu was horrified to find that her body was no longer controlled by consciousness. She ran away screaming in her heart, but she walked towards Jinli honestly, and then, with a plop, knelt down on the ground. Jinli looked down at her. Now, tell me everything. Li Huiyu. She didn't want to say it. She didn't want to say anything. But she couldn't help it. She was terrified and wanted to cover her chest, but the words were still jumping out word by word. Jinli frowned, probably because she felt that such words were too harsh on her ears. If you have extra hands, don't take them. As soon as the words fell, Li Huiyu's hands dropped limply. She began to tell her own story. This is a story that begins a long time ago. Li Huiyu was very lucky in the first half of her life. She was good looking, and she was spotted by famous directors early on. She won the Best Actress title in her first film debut. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 543. How wonderful she was at that time. She was sought after by thousands of people, and her career was booming. From her first work at the age of 17 to the age of 27, in 10 years, she almost created a legend in the entertainment industry. 2 movie queens, 4 movie queens, and countless awards. When she was the hottest, the movie she starred in was released in some rural areas, and the crowds were empty. That was when she was at her best. But maybe it really went so smoothly all the way, making her feel that becoming famous is not too difficult. It is not particularly difficult to let go of such an honor that has not been costly. She was proposed by a rich second generation. The rich second generation knows how to play, luxury cars and flowers, sweet talk, she can't resist these temptations. But the family of the rich second generation disagreed with their affairs. The rich second generation argued with the family for a long time before the family let go. It is fine to marry Li Huiyu, but Li Huiyu must quit the entertainment industry and devote herself to being the daughter-in-law of a wealthy family. At that time, many people advised her. Director, friend, relative. But she was blinded by love, and felt that compared to a sincere relationship, there was nothing she couldn't give up on these external things. She married the rich second generation. She quit the showbiz. When she made the statement, tens of thousands of fans begged her not to do so on the street. But she left without hesitation. Married life starts off beautifully. As for her husband, she was the goddess he begged for with great difficulty, so she was naturally held in his hands. But the good days didn't last long. She had no children for several years after marriage, and her in-laws were quite critical. Li Huiyu was anxious, and began to seek various folk remedies, drink various traditional Chinese medicines, and take hormones. Some of these things are legitimate, and some are deceptive things. Eating them is not good for your health. In addition to getting older, her figure began to lose shape, and her skin was not as fair and delicate as before. The husband came home later and later, and at night he no longer had the enthusiasm of the past. 5 years of good days have passed, and 3 years of suffering have passed. She was 28 years old when she got married. She was young and her career was booming. She was 36 when she got divorced, her love was gone, and her career was ruined. She has no special skills and can only return to the entertainment circle. The old club missed some old feelings and renewed the contract with her, but the contract was far worse than before. The biggest gap is the audience. 8 years have passed, those fans who said they loved her and cried to keep her when they quit the circle have long since forgotten her. Even when her first drama came out, the comments on the internet were all curses. Said that she was aging so fast, said that her acting skills were gone, and told her to get out of the entertainment industry. Those media who used to praise her as a natural actor now use her marriage and pain as a hype gimmick, killing her one by one. Those were her darkest years, the most painful times. She wished she could die immediately. But she saw her husband again from those reports. He held a young and beautiful starlet in his arms. The end of the marriage was painful for him, but it was a layer of shackles for him. Why is she willing? She started to tidy herself up, worked hard to keep fit, and enrolled in various classes to improve herself. The effect is there, but the body and age cannot deceive people. She is still old. It was in this desperate moment that she discovered a book. The book that changed her destiny. When talking about this book, Li Huiyu's eyes burst into a strong brilliance. It is my salvation. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozheji. Chapter 544. It was a book with yellowed pages, and it recorded some very unorthodox techniques. Some spells have complicated steps, she couldn't understand them, so she just scrolled down. Until you see the spirit. Prepare yin earth red clay, yellow paper, birthday horoscope, personal items of the subject. And a drop of his own blood. With the incantation, those souls who have just passed away and have not completely dissipated can be detained for their own use. Li Huiyu was moved. She struggled for a long time before finally trying to refine the slave spirit for the first time. When she successfully found Yongling for the first time, and let it bring her something she casually said, she was ecstatic and knew that her fate was about to be rewritten from here. So, she began to become more and more proficient in doing these things. She donated schools and roads to those remote mountainous areas, and won the gratitude of countless people. It is too easy to inquire about something. It's too easy to get something. Those who were so grateful to Li Huiyu didn't know that their close relatives were held in the hands of this kind woman, reduced to servants, and could not rest in peace. At the beginning, she just asked Ye Ling to take some real things. As long as she was at home with a cold and a fever, she looked at Ye Ling by the bedside, and when she was dizzy, she said, "If you can bring me, just be healthy." The spirit flew away. An hour later, a green light fell on Li Huiyu's body. The dizzy head became clear, the heavy body became light, and the cough stopped. She widened her eyes and finally understood what. Jinli listened to her narrative quietly. Some people may feel that Li Huiyu is pitiful. Maybe she was really pitiful too. But being poor is not an excuse to do evil. Asterisk. Since that time, Li Huiyu has discovered a new world. She asked Yongling to steal what she cared most about, youth and beauty. At first, she wasn't sure if she could succeed, until Yongling brought the things back, until she looked at herself in the mirror, the wrinkles began to disappear, her skin became fairer day by day, and her appearance became more and more attractive. She knew she had succeeded. And thus fell into the abyss, and could no longer extricate himself. With a miraculous gesture, she returned to the entertainment circle. Li Huiyu, who had regained her youthful beauty, once again got into trouble like a duck in water. When she won the actress title again, she stood on the podium and saw her ex-husband in the audience. He looked at her with a very familiar look. That was what she used to be very familiar with, obsession and admiration. The ex-husband started courting her again. Li Huiyu had hatred in her heart. She didn't refuse, but she didn't agree either. She was more beautiful than ever, and she was more attractive than ever, which made the man want to stop and couldn't let go. He broke off all relationships with his lovers for her, and begged her forgiveness wholeheartedly. While hanging him, Li Huiyu asked Yan Ling to steal his health. The man was aging rapidly, was always sick, and died before he was 50. He probably really loved Li Huiyu to the bone, and he made a will when he passed away, leaving 70% of his estate to Li Huiyu. Of course his family disagreed. Everyone thought that the two sides would be torn apart, but no one expected that Li Huiyu would be so forthright and donate all the inheritance he got without hesitation. This incident brought her unprecedented fame. And she has never remarried, and it has also been interpreted by people as, she has a stronger love for her ex-husband. 8 more complete. See you in the morning, guys. Ask for votes, ask for votes. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 545. She enjoys the praise of everyone and begins to become a perfect person. Support the younger generation, do charity, and become the cleanest, most indisputable and best known person in the entertainment industry. As she said, even if Jinli went to the police and announced what she had done to the world, this kind of thing is too miraculous and there is no definite evidence. Most people would not believe that she would. It is this kind of person. Her story is over. Li Huiyu also regained control of her body. She covered the corner of her mouth in horror and looked at Jinli as if she were looking at some kind of demon. These, the things she hides the most, or pain or sin, she once thought that she would never tell anyone in this life, the secret that would be brought to death, just so lightly, all of them. Jinli only asked her, Li Huiyu, what you did has nothing to do with driving spirits. Donate to Hope Primary School, donate money to patients. Do these things hide the intention of atonement for yourself? Li Huiyu trembled. She doesn't know either. She subconsciously avoided this kind of question. Jinli said lightly. Li Huiyu's heart trembled, and she subconsciously said, I don't know. This is the truest thought in her heart. Jinli got up, okay, I already know everything I need to know. She didn't look at Li Huiyu, who was kneeling on the ground, and got up to leave. Li Huiyu was very strange, and looked back at her. Aren't you doing something to me? Jinli didn't answer her. She walked out of the room step by step, reached out to grab something, and something flew out of the layers of protection and landed in her hand. Jinli was not interested in reading what was written in the evil book, so an invisible fire ignited in his hand and burned it up. What did you do to Li Huiyu? No need. After she took away Li Huiyu's youth and beauty, Jinli knew that Li Huiyu would not survive. This is her life. Sitting in the car, Jinli called Long Hao, explained what happened to him, and then informed him of the aftermath. Jinli kindly suggested, if you come later, you might die. Long Hao's speechlessness could probably be felt through the phone, and Jinli hung up the phone in a good mood. Every time it's your Divine Supervision Bureau looking for me to make me feel uncomfortable. This time, I also want to let you have a taste of heartache. On the third day, news broke out every day that Li Huiyu was involved in many economic cases and had been taken away for trial. Netizens talked a lot, saying they didn't expect Li Huiyu to do such a thing. When it was announced in a few days that the verdict of Li Huiyu's case was that she would spend the rest of her life in prison, many people said, it was expected. However, some old friends who had a good relationship with Li Huiyu went to visit, but they were blocked and severely warned not to leak information. These people realized that things may not be so simple. Jinli didn't care about the rest. It's none of his business anyway. Long Hao called and said that Jinli was making trouble for him, and Jinli responded with a word. In the afternoon, Jinli took a nap, put on a mask, and ate the afternoon tea given by Lan Ting, when she received a call. She picked it up and looked, the number of bed country. She probably knew who the caller was, frowned in disgust, ignored her, and continued to eat delicious food. The Koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 546. But the other party is obviously very persistent. When the phone screen turned on for the third time, Jinli finally finished eating the egg tart in his hand. She connected, didn't even bother to take the phone, turned on the hands-free, and let out a lazy hello. Opposite is a man. The voice is very soft and nice. If you were a voice actor, maybe it would be the kind of provocative style that little girls like most. Miss Jinli, the person on the phone, called her. Jinli knew who he was, but she didn't want to give him this face. Who are you? Other side. I once had a relationship with Miss Jinli, Duke Balabalabala of the Cappadocia family. Your Excellency, the Duke announced his name, which is better than ordinary people. Jinli, oh. The indifference of the attitude is very obvious. Duke. He was a little angry and felt offended. But there was nothing he could do to get angry. He had something to ask Jinli. Miss Jinli, I have something I want to ask you. Jinli began to peel nuts for herself. Say. The Duke's voice was a little low, and he gritted his teeth. The grievance between Miss Jinli and I has been settled, right? They paid such a price? Jinli nodded, very straightforward. Yes, I am very satisfied with the generosity of your blood race. Qin Jiangzi was also very satisfied, because the generous Jinli Daoist gave him a lot of money. The Duke said, in this case, why does Miss Jinli cast more spells on Baker and me? Jinli paused and said innocently, Duke, what you said is wrong. I have returned to Huaguo long ago. How could I cast a spell on you? Besides, I'm free, so why cast a spell on you? His tone was so upright that even the Duke almost believed it. The Duke of Cappadocia's eyes went dark. It was really dark, not because he was angry, but because he hadn't eaten for a long time and was hungry. God knows how he lived these days. He started to faint when a cup of blood was served. At first, he thought that there was something wrong with his body, so he asked the most knowledgeable elder in the blood clan to take a look. After observing for a long time, the elder said that he had been plotted against. The Duke's first reaction was that this was done by the blood clan's old rivals, the group of priests from the Temple of Light. But he has no proof. Even if you question him, the other party probably won't admit it, and besides the Duke has concerns in his heart. Since the other party can cast this kind of spell on himself without anyone noticing, wouldn't it be very simple if he wanted his own life? Now the relationship between the blood clan and the Temple of Light has eased a lot. He gritted his teeth, politely prepared a generous gift, and went to visit the Temple of Light. After all, he was a duke, and a noble golden-cloaked priest was sent from the Temple of Light to receive him. Then the Duke of Cappadocia spoke out. The other party was surprised, and used magic to probe the Duke's body. Finally, he said with certainty, "This is definitely not the magic technique of our Temple of Light, but more like the magic technique of the mysterious East." East. The Duke of Cappadocia immediately thought of Jinli. When he returned to the blood race, he happened to meet Sir Bigdu, who came to see him with a frowning face. He actually had the same symptoms as himself. After investigation by the entire family of the Duke of Cappadocia, it was found that no third person had similar symptoms. The previous 5 points of doubt have become 9 points of certainty. Therefore, there was this call from him to Jinli. 2 more, see you in the early morning. Ask for a ticket, ask for a ticket, ask for a ticket, say important things 3 times. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is sweet as honey, love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 547. In fact, at this time, the Duke of Cappadocia only discovered that he was dizzy with blood. It was only a few days before the spell took effect, and the blood dizziness of these few days made the Duke have no romantic thoughts. Otherwise, if he knew that he was going to be a saint of asceticism, no matter how much he tried to endure, he would not be able to be so friendly to Jinli. The Duke swallowed his anger. Miss Jinli, I am really sorry for the offense my subordinates and I have offended you, and I want to ask for your forgiveness. It is said that the people of Huiguo have always been tolerant and friendly to their friends. Can you, too? Shall we be nicer? Jinli, I can understand every word you said, but I don't quite understand the meaning together. She continued to pretend to be stupid with her eyes open. I still said that, I don't know what you are talking about. After finishing speaking, she hung up the phone with a snap. The Duke of Cappadocia far away in the country of white pigeons. Very angry. I was so angry that I started to dizzy again. The confidant waiter beside him leaned over cautiously. Your Excellency, otherwise, this subordinate will cover your eyes with cloth and satin. In fact, this trick is useless. After all, as long as you take a sip and taste the taste of blood, the curse in the Duke's body will take effect, and you will pass out. But no matter what, you can take a sip of blood before passing out. Most of the blood clan's power comes from their blood, and blood sucking is their daily way of replenishing their strength. If he does not drink blood for a long time, the Duke will not starve to death, but his strength will be greatly weakened, and he will even fall into a long-term deep sleep. The Duke said angrily, I am the Duke of Cappadocia, do I have to bear such humiliation? The subordinate knelt before his eyes, not daring to speak out. After a long time, the Duke sighed softly, bring me the brocade. He thought for a while, and then said, I want the golden one. Since you can't resist, you can always feel better by covering your eyes with your favorite color. The Duke comforted himself in his heart. Asterisk. Flower country. Jinli hung up the phone and burst out laughing. She admits she is happy. She called Lu Genja, are you at home? The boss is not at home. Boss BA followed Jinli willfully to beg Quilang last time, and when he came back, he was almost overwhelmed by a mountain of affairs. He has been sleeping in the company's exclusive lounge for the president for 2 days. When he received Jinli's call, he was conducting a video conference while he was dual tasking, holding a pen in one hand, and processing the accumulated documents at an inhuman speed. As the saying goes, travel for a while, crematorium afterwards. Lu Zhenjie signaled for the suspension of the meeting, picked up his phone, got up, and walked to the opposite place where Lu's senior executives would never hear. Jinli, what's the matter? Jinli smiled, do you remember the Duke with a long name? Lu Zhenjie remembered, but the reason he remembered was different from what Jinli thought. He remembered the Duke because Jinli said he was very good looking and very pleasing to the eye. Lu Zhenjie knew Jinli, such an insignificant person. Jinli had been back for so long, logically speaking, he should have forgotten it long ago. His eyes turned cold. Did he find you? Across the phone, Jinli didn't realize his emotional changes. She nodded, yes, didn't I tell you that I put 2 little curses on him? The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 548. When Jinli said that, Lu Zhenjie remembered. Jinli's curse was really too much, it's hard to describe in words, and it's hard to forget. Lu Zhenjie thought of a certain possibility, and counting the time, it seemed that a month had passed. He asked in a low voice, it worked? Jinli nodded, yeah. Besides, he suspected me. Lu Zhenjie was nervous, then, nothing will happen to you. Jinli didn't care, what can I do? At most, he's just suspicious. Without evidence, can he still go to Huaguo to find me? Is it really a show for the Supervision Bureau? Besides, he came to me, I'm not afraid either. Jinli played with her fingertips around her long hair, and said proudly, my sister's painting gave me a lot of golden energy. Now, I have recovered 20% of my strength. That Duke, it's not far away. In fact, the last time Jinli went to the castle, she only recovered 1 layer of divine power. Even so, the Duke of Cappadocia can do nothing to her. Let alone now. That's good. Lu Zhenjie felt relieved. He didn't care about other things, as long as Jinli didn't do anything. He asked, you called me, is there anything else? Jinli said, actually, the main thing is to tell you this. Oh, and the Supervision Bureau called me. We have to get ready and go to Sun Island with them. Sun Kingdom is located on Sun Island. Boss BA said logically, I'll go to your house tonight, let's talk about this matter. Nodding, okay. Then you can have dinner at my house tonight, Lan Ting is very good at cooking. Lu Zhenjie smiled, okay. Lan Ting, who just woke up from a nap and went downstairs, just heard Jinli's last words, and asked curiously, who will come to dinner? Jinli said, your father Lu. Lan Ting was shocked, really? Jinli thought for a while. Lu Zhenjie likes the taste a bit lighter, and he prefers river fresh food. Don't make it too heavy. After all, BA is always a boss who drinks tea, ginseng slices and goji berries, and there is nothing incomprehensible about eating a lighter diet. Jinli herself didn't have any preferences, as long as it tasted good, sour, spicy, sweet, or salty, she was fine with it. Lan Ting, on the other hand, was a little surprised by Jinli's behavior. After she was stunned for a moment, a small firework exploded in her heart. Oh my god, Jinli actually remembers Papa Lu's taste. You know, the little fairy who is essentially a straight girl of steel has never cared about these things. Lan Ting quietly looked at the unconscious Jinli, thinking that as long as he worked hard, all the steel making would turn into soft fingers one day. Father Lu, come on. 5:30 in the afternoon. Lu Zhenjie finished processing the last document of the day, rubbed his sore brows, and got up. He thought of the dinner he was waiting for, and his face warmed up. While driving, he thought about it, and still couldn't help calling Jinli, "I'm off work now, and I'll be home in about 20 minutes. Jinli glanced back. Lanting was still busy in the kitchen. She said, "Well, okay, dinner isn't that fast yet, so don't worry." She likes food herself, and she takes it for granted that others also regard food as very important. Lugenja. He was a little helpless, thinking that I was so impatient. Was it because of a meal? He couldn't help but said, "Jinli, I." His eyes suddenly tightened. The koi fairy wife is sweet as honey, love from the koi goddess. Author, Sushao Zheji. Chapter 549. A dark red car in front suddenly accelerated and changed lanes, hitting the rear of the car in front. He stepped on the brakes quickly, but it was too late. Boom. There was only a loud bang from the phone, and the phone was still on, but Lugenja didn't speak again. Jinli suddenly panicked. "Lugenja? Lugenja," she called his name. No one responded. Car accident. Such a word came to Jinli's mind. This is not a very unusual thing in the human world, and she never took it to heart when she saw related reports. But at this moment, Jinli suddenly realized clearly that human beings are extremely fragile, and such a car accident might kill Lugenja. Jinli wanted to sense Lugenja's situation at the moment, but it didn't work. Yes, her ability had always been ineffective when it came to Lugenja. Jinli turned on the TV and searched for news about current affairs in the imperial capital. Sure enough, on the screen, the dignified hostess was saying, "Now there is an urgent news break." At 5:45 p.m., a 10-vehicle rear-end collision occurred on Huanhua Road, the Imperial City Evening News section. At present, ambulances and traffic police have. Jinli looked at the picture on the TV and recognized Lugenja's car. She panicked. Before turning off the TV in time, Jinli got up and went out in a hurry. Lanting came out with a plate of freshly prepared dishes, only to see her back pushing the door. "Hey Jinli, where are you going when we have dinner soon?" Of course Jinli went to the scene. She can't care about the ban of the Supervision Bureau now. Applying an invisibility technique to himself, the whole person suddenly turned into a ray of light and disappeared in place. In less than 2 minutes after arriving at the scene, Jinli thought about many things. For example, if Lugenja was seriously injured, she had many treasures in her little treasure house, which would definitely cure him. For another example, Lugenja looked very difficult, such a small scene should be fine. Think again, what if Lugenja? It's okay. Jinli thought calmly, in case of real misfortune, the soul can stay in this world for a while. She can raise his soul, and when she returns to the heavenly realm, there are too many treasures in the heavenly realm that can shape a physical body, and she will give Lugenja a perfect physical body, and Lugenja will be able to live again. You can also become a fairy. But why is she still in such a hurry? Jinli arrived at the scene. It's a mess here right now. Medical staff wearing masks carry people out on stretchers. A lot of blood. Jinli saw a body that had lost its vital signs, and she even saw the soul of this body standing aside, looking blankly at everything in front of her. It wasn't Lugenja. Jinli looked around and found the familiar car. He was being carefully lifted out by medical staff, and he seemed to be in good condition. Jinli stood beside him and watched him being carried into the ambulance. They were not sure if there was any hidden problem with him, and they had to go to the hospital for a thorough examination before they could rest assured. With just one glance, Jinli was sure that the most serious wound on Lugenja's body was his right arm, which was scratched by glass and slightly fractured. She breathed a sigh of relief and did not follow. She goes home. Lanting looked at her strangely. "Jinli, where did you go just now, in such a hurry?" Jinli glanced at her. "It's nothing." She returned to her room and began to think about something very seriously. 5 more. There are 3 more night shifts left. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 550. Why was she so worried just now? Lu Zhenjia was just a friend she met when she came to this world. Ordinary life is too short: birth, old age, sickness and death. The world is impermanent, it is too normal. She should face it very calmly. If she really likes this human being, after he dies, she will keep his soul and bring it to the heaven. It's all possible. So the question comes back to this one. Why is she worried? Jinli reached out to touch her heart. It was very quiet here, beating steadily. But Jinli knew very well that not long ago, she had been throbbing violently, as if she was about to pop out of her chest. It was because of Lu Zhenjia. Jinli was not a little fairy who could escape, she was just slower than ordinary people. Some of the previous details, her nerves are thick, can be ignored. But today's accident put all kinds of unusual things on the table. Jinli rolled on the bed. Lan Ting's voice came downstairs calling her. Hearing this voice, Jinli couldn't help thinking again, if Lan Ting was in a car accident today, would she be so worried? Will worry. But she will calmly investigate Lan Ting's situation, and then calmly handle the follow-up matters. She won't lose her mind all of a sudden like she just found out about Lu Zhenjia's car accident, and want to see him regardless. Jinli murmured, do I really like this human being? There was the sound of rolling thunder outside the house. Lan Ting looked out of the window strangely, and muttered, it's really strange, why is there a sudden thunder on such a sunny day? Jinli woke up like a dream. With a move of her consciousness, she appeared in the spiritual sea. Stepping on the endless waves of consciousness, Jinli looked up at the sky. Papa Tiandeo, Father Tiandeo, are you there? The sky thought of low thunder, as if answering her call. Jinli smiled, but immediately became distressed again. Father Tiandeo, there is one thing Jinli doesn't understand. The thunder in the sky got louder, and the invisible existence in the clouds seemed to know what she was talking about, and was venting her dissatisfaction. Jinli sensed that he was angry and wondered, what are you angry about? Tiandeo didn't speak, and became quiet. Jinli sat down cross-legged and began to ramble about her troubles. She said all her thoughts, and finally asked, Father Tiandeo, tell me, do I fall in love with this human being? I have read human novels and TV dramas, and what they say they like is a bit different from my current situation. Picture. A cloud floated down from the sky, landed on Jinli's side, rubbed around her, and dissipated in the breeze. This is Tiandeo's father telling her that this kind of thing can only be figured out by herself. No matter what, you are Dad's favorite little koi. Jinli sighed, sat here for a while, and then came out of the sea of consciousness. Such a long time in the sea of consciousness is only a short moment in reality. Jinli opened the door and went out. When Lan Ting didn't know about Lu Zhenjia's car accident, she looked at her and asked, why hasn't Father Lu come yet? The dishes are already ready. Do you want to call him? Jinli looked at Lan Ting's carefully prepared dinner and sighed, I'm sorry, Lan Ting, I'm afraid I won't be able to finish this meal. Lu Zhenjia had a car accident and is now in the hospital. The Koi Fairy Wife is Sweet as Honey, Love from the Koi Goddess. Author, Su Xiaozhaji. Chapter 551. Lan Ting. She was shocked and at a loss. What car accident? Jinli said softly, that's what you thought, but don't worry too much, there's nothing serious about it. Lan Ting breathed a sigh of relief, thinking that Jinli had already called and asked, as long as there is no problem, then, can he eat? Do you want to bring him something to eat? Jinli thought about it, and thought that Lu Zhenjie didn't know if he was awake, and shook his head. Forget it. I'm going to the hospital to see him now. Lan Ting said quickly, do you want me to go with you? Jinli shook her head, you've been busy all afternoon, let's eat first. Then you go after dinner first, Lan Ting said, you haven't had dinner yet. No, I'm not hungry. Jinli pushed the door open and left. Lan Ting shouted behind her, be careful not to be photographed by paparazzi on the way, and remember to call me when you arrive. Jinli waved at her. She didn't bring Lan Ting because she was too lazy to drive. Flew directly to the hospital. Without asking the nurse where Lu Zhenjie was, she sensed it and found the ward where Lu Zhenjie was. When Jinli opened the door and went in, Lu Zhenjie was already awake. He was sitting on the head of the bed with a bandage on his right arm, and the young nurse next to him was talking to him with a blushing face. Seeing Jinli, he was surprised. Jinli? Why are you here? The nurse also turned around and was obviously shocked when she saw Jinli. Jinli. She raised her voice, looked at Jinli with a little excitement, then thought of something, and then looked at Lu Zhenjie. The scandal between these two is very famous. The nurse said quickly, Mr. Lu, remember the precautions I said. Lu Zhenjie's full attention was on Jinli, and he nodded absent-mindedly. This scene made the nurse even more excited. Father Lu looks like this. Sky. It's too obvious. She immediately had the opportunity to go out. Jinli stepped aside, but when the nurse was about to go out, Lu Zhenjie called her, Miss Nurse. The nurse turned around suspiciously. Lu Zhenjie said softly, Jinli came to see me, please keep it a secret. The nurse nodded, okay. After she finished speaking, she walked away with some joy. As soon as the nurse came out of the room, she jumped up and down outside the ward several times excitedly. When she got to the studio and finished her work at hand, she almost couldn't wait to post a circle of friends. What kind of fairy CP is this, fairy love, ah. A bunch of friends and colleagues below were all exclamation points, but the nurse thought about what Lu Zhenjie said, so she could only bear it in pain and happiness. Alas, this kind of secret that only I know in the whole world is really a sweet burden. At this moment, in the ward, the door closed, and there were only 2 people left. Lu Zhenjie looked at Jinli with surprise and joy in his eyes. Jinli, why are you here? How do you know I'm here and come so fast? Jinli walked up to him and sat down. It's not that I don't know my identity, what do I want to know, isn't it simple? Lu Zhenjie thought about her status as a little fairy, and nodded, indeed. Isn't it easy for the little fairy to know something? Jinli looked down at Lu Zhenjie's wound and asked, does it hurt? Lu Zhenjie shook his head, I'm fine, just a slight fracture in my arm, everything else is fine, the doctor said I'm lucky and I need a car. 7 more. There is another chapter later.